Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. In case you don't know, my name's Chad, and I take a dive into world sports. This is like a follow-up or part two of my last video about the American aggressively expanding into Conference USA. And this is more like, continuation, like a Conference USA exodus. As you know, 6 schools have now officially applied to move to the American, so I think it's just a matter of time for the American goes yes. So now with the 8 remaining Conference USA programs, what are you going to do? So the 8 remaining, in case you don't know, is Marshall, Old Dominion, FIU, Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, Southern Miss, Louisiana Tech, and UTEP. So it's a huge swatch of territory from West Virginia, all the way to El Paso, already down to outside of Miami. So it's a huge footprint, a lot of travel. It's really the reason why Conference USA approached the American about a merger / split regionalization of the conferences, which, the American immediately went no. And it's something that I found out that the Old Dominion was one of the ones that kind of really wanted it because they didn't see the reason why 3 conferences with the American, Conference USA, and Sunbelt all put schools in the exact same regions, and they said the FBS doesn't do that. Or the Power 5 don't do this. They don't see them competing this much in certain territories. So that was the whole reason why, Conference USA was trying to do that, get all 3 of them kind of go with this. But the problem with that is not everyone Conference USA was on board with that. Some members of Conference USA thought joining forces with the Sun Belt was beneath them. They thought, there was a stigma, I guess, with the Sunbelt schools. And for a long time, Sunbelt was considered a lower level. And, Louisiana and Appalachian State were that good. Appalachian State already had the thing of being, coming in and upsetting FBS schools, because that's what they did when they're an FCS member. But they always considered it an FCS school, so that had that stigma. So Charlotte didn't want to associate with them. App State was 10 times better than Charlotte, and Charlotte was a brand new program, so I don't know why they had, they kind of thought that. Louisiana Tech didn't want to play with the Louisiana programs. Louisiana Monroe. They want to play with Tulane and LSU. So that's the reason why I think a lot of that regionalization between all the conferences kind of failed. That's why they kind of went with, okay, let's go with the American, since it's about the same. They thought they were the same quality. American's better. That's why their TV contract, they get roughly about $7 million per team. So when the 6 new ones officially get added, they only get $2 million to start, and that money will increase until 2031 when that whole American TV contract gets redone. So, moving on to what's left of the Conference USA, and there are a couple scenarios that can go. They can follow what the Sun Belt had to do years ago in the last major conference realignment, after Conference USA purged the Sun Belt of their schools, and Sun Belt had to go to FCS. Conference USA can go that route, or they're too far down the hemorrhaging line, the blood's in the water, and the sharks are circling, looking to take their chomps out of Conference USA and just end it. And those are possibilities. So let's go ahead and start with the destruction of Conference USA. I think this one's it may not happen. I don't think it's going to, but let's just have fun with this. And let's start with UTEP. UTEP being an outlier out there in El Paso. You have no one close. There were, I think, starting to look to go elsewhere. Mountain West is not going to add a football program anytime soon. So UTEP is, unfortunately, is an outlier. And I think they're going to end up joining New Mexico State in the WAC, going back to the WAC. The WAC is restarting the football, in case you all don't know. And they have ambitions of having the entire conference move up to FBS around 2030. So that means New Mexico State has to continue on being independent until that time frame. And then they'll finally get some decent programs, and seeing if Austin, Sam Houston State, Lamar, no jokes. You got Southern Utah, Abilene Christian. And then you might have Texas, Rio Grande Valley. They're talking about starting a program and haven't launched in 24. I think by 24. Tarleton State, it's been moved up. Utah Tech, a.k.a. Dixie State. So you can add them up there. And then New Mexico would just slide right in once the conference moves up. And try to make their be competitive out there with the, against the Mount West. We'll kind of see how that one kind of plays out. So I kind of see UTEP following that suit, holding off for the WAC to move up and then join once that happens. Now with Louisiana Tech, with them, I kind of look at them doing the exact same thing. In this scenario, if the Conference USA goes complete with their destruction, Louisiana Tech would join UTEP in the WAC. I really do. Them at 10, if in Texas Grand Valley, Rio Grande Valley moves up, that's an 11-member conference. So they'll probably look at maybe adding a 12-member somewhere. Who knows? But I can see that one maybe transpiring. Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, I have a weird inclination that if the MAC decides to start nibbling at Conference USA, these be the two that they take. Marshall has history with the MAC, but I don't think Marshall will do a third run in the MAC. I think they'll probably look elsewhere to alleviate that. Old Dominion and Liberty could also be added to the MAC, give them a little southern exposure, which I really increase the travel cost too much. But I think Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee be very interesting choices. Bring MAC Nation down south a little bit. Don't really increase your travel much. A little bit more exposure. Okay, so you go from Buffalo to outside Nashville, outside Chicago. That's not really that big of a footprint, really, but it's enough to kind of expose them a little bit more, get a little more talent pool, and see how things go. But I think Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee could go to the MAC. So that'll leave Marshall, Old Dominion, FIU, and Southern Miss. And I think all four of these could go Sun Belt. Make the Sun Belt a 14-member football conference, 16-member basketball. I can see that one kind of, happening, which kind of leaves Liberty out by themselves. Same thing with Army, UConn, UMass. I think UMass just go back to the FCS. They've been haven't been good since they made the move up. UConn, Army can make a attempt to go to the MAC, make the MAC a 16-member conference, and only to be there for football. I mean, that could be a possibility. Then just kind of leaves Liberty out there by themselves. Maybe the ASUN makes the move up to FBS, and Liberty just slides right into that one. That's a possibility. But that's, a possible scenario where the Conference USA gets divided up into different entities. So you're looking at the Sun Belt, the MAC, and the WAC all coming into the Conference USA and carving them up. Well, now let's look at a scenario where Conference USA is able to stop the bleeding and start rebuilding and start, getting, members into that conference to kind of make it more of a legitimate force once again, a la Sun Belt. Now, the problem with the Eastern-based FCS programs, I don't see them going out west at all. There's no Eastern Washington, no Dakotas, no Montanas, Sacramento State. I don't see none of those being added. There's been a lot of shakeup in the FCS as well. So any schools going to the new Atlantic Sun, now the Atlantic Sun's starting to sponsor football. So they have a new Atlantic Sun conference being formed for football in the FCS. Same thing with the WAC. Like I said, the WAC's going to move up by part 2030. I think there's some rumor mills floating out there that ASUN may be trying to do that as well. So they'll take out Eastern Kentucky, Jacksonville State, Central Arkansas, and those schools. So that leaves a lot of them out. So now you got to look at, okay, who's left on the eastern side that could possibly make the move up. And the first one that comes to mind is James Madison. The Dukes, I think, really want to go to a conference that's regionalized, that, you don't have to travel too much and still be competitive. And with those eastern schools, that'll be enough for James Madison to make the move up. Plus, they have some bad blood a little bit with Old Dominion, so that'll definitely help out. There's some history there also with Marshall, so I do see that one kind of happening. They can also bring in Liberty, have Liberty make a full membership into Conference USA. Also help out, with Old Dominion, get another Virginia school in. Also help Marshall with another Virginia school in. So you bring James Madison, Liberty. Now you get that 4 in that West Virginia area. So FIU will be kind of, outlier in that one, but it gives you access to Florida. And you still got Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee. Very good mix as well. Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss may still stick around. And I think in this venture, UTEP will still leave because they look at where Conference USA is going to go, and it's going to be no one close for them. They may have ties with Conference USA, scheduling wise. Just makes it easier for them, but I think UTEP will end up leaving as well for the WAC. And with this, so now you're back to 9. A 10th member is one that's very familiar with the rumor mill of moving up to the Sun Belt, was Chattanooga. I think Chattanooga is another one of those the schools that could make the move up to assist, give another little southern kind of exposure team right there to kind of help with the Middle Tennessee, and the Southern Miss, kind of get them somewhat close as well, kind of help with their scheduling. The issue I have is FIU is going to be an outlier in this particular conference, unfortunately. I don't see any schools around that region that's not already made a move to another conference to make the move up, which is unfortunate. I mean, I'll love to see Furman or make a move up. Elon's another one that possibly could be another good program to move up, but I don't think none of those will make the move. And some ones that could look at kind of stretch a footprint as well. Missouri State, I think it'd be a good one right there in Southwest Missouri and Springfield. Will kind of help with Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss. Get them someone close, a little pairing with those guys. Illinois State could be an interesting choice right there in Normal, Illinois. I could see them, making some upgrades to that stadium, bring it up to the FBS level. Youngstown State's another one, getting them back, Conference USA back in Ohio. Could be an interesting concept. Delaware, possibly. I mean, why not? I mentioned Delaware before in one of my videos of these brain exercises or thinking experiments where I think I made like the Super 16 or some crazy like that, and I pulled up the Delaware. And I was like one of those, my almost perfect 10. That was the video that I pulled up Delaware just to put them in there. And I mean, I think that's kind of why, a lot of people don't talk about FCS moving up, because there's a lot of things FCS programs have to do to make the move up. They have to sponsor so many women's sports, have to sponsor so many men's sports. They have to increase the number of scholarships added to these things, and your capacity for your stadium has to meet a certain level. And it takes programs some time to get to that point. I mean, I think there's some levels to get there, and that's money you have to pour in to spend before you start receiving, because then you also got to pay the exit fees from your other conference before you make the move up, and it's a transition. I mean, it's a whole drawn out process. I mean, can it happen? Of course. I mean, look at how many programs have already moved up. So now you have 130 in the FBS. But I think only 2, I think, will make the move. And that'll be James Madison and Chattanooga. So they'll give Conference USA 10, and then they can go football only. and get rid of this deal breaker of have to be all in after you get to 10, and go football only and bring in UConn Army. I think UConn offers them nothing, but gives you up into the Northeast. And I think that aspect, you give them the 12, it'll kind of help that conference out, kind of do East-West type scenario with the FIU, unfortunately, being in the West, which makes no sense, but hey. But then it kind of gives, UConn wants to stay up in the FBS because they built that brand new stadium, and since they left the American, the UConn has been atrocious. So they need a conference to be stable to get the recruits in there, because right now UConn's just known as basketball. That's all they're known for, men and women's basketball. That's all UConn's known for. That's why they went to the Big East. So, they definitely need a conference to kind of make themselves viable. It's either the MAC or a revived Conference USA. For me, UMass, I think they're done. They need to go back to the FCS. They can replace James Madison in the Colonial. I mean, ever since UMass made the move up, and I think I mentioned this in my Super League video, that they have just been horrible. It's just they're not doing anything. I think they've only got like 19 wins since they made the move up in 2007, I think it was. So they have done nothing. 0 winning seasons since they moved up. So sorry, UMass, but I think they need to go back to FCS and go back there and beef back up your program. But once again, those are my 2 cents. I mean, any scenario could possibly happen, especially with realignment. The Big 12 expanding still could wreck some things up. Like I said, if they grab Boise State, Memphis, I think that's the only way UTEP's going to get in the Mountain West. And I'll stick by that. I think everyone will say they'll never be added to the Mountain West. Never say never. I mean, I never thought Rutgers would be added to the Big 10 or Maryland, but that happened. Or the fact that Missouri be added to the SEC. Or Oklahoma and Texas be added to the SEC as well. I mean, stranger things have happened in conference realignment. And then with Memphis leaving, if Memphis goes, who does American then grab to fill in the spot? I mean, they can go into Atlanta, grab Georgia State. I mean, even though I think somebody like App State be a whole lot better, because it gives you that pedigree, and they're definitely up there. Louisiana's another one. Coastal's another one. Marshall, Southern Miss. I think Southern Miss is not doing so hot, but they have the pedigree, or they have the good standings before to be competitive. Same thing with Marshall. Coastal right now is Coastal and Louisiana, the two sitting on top. Maybe they go into Buffalo and grab, the Buffalo Bulls out of the MAC. I mean, that's could be a strange one. I mean, never seem to talk about the MAC getting, moving along. So like I said, conference realignment brings out some really strange ideas and possibilities, so it's only time will tell. Like I said, the Conference USA can go 1 of 2 directions. They could either get cut up by 3 other conferences, or they'll be like the Sun Belt 2.0 and start looking at the FCS to start filling the slots. I really hope they go with the FCS route and bring up James Madison and Chattanooga, and also welcome in Liberty, get them back to 10, because I think UTEP, no matter what scenario happens, UTEP is gone. UTEP's looking at this as like, no, we're leaving, we're going to the WAC. I really think that's what's going to happen with UTEP. But anyways, like I said, those are my 2 cents. For what it's worth, always let you think possible scenarios, what could possibly happen with this whole college realignment. And while you're there, just go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. What things you think Conference USA should do themselves. What schools should they really add? It's always it's fun to see it's scenarios that pop up. While you're there, smash that thumbs up for me. Give me a like. You can also subscribe. Once you subscribe, you hit that bell notification. let you know next time I post a video, and I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.